Dailies today.
Dailies today.
On 99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Good morning to you, Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Dailies today. That's right, the second part. I'm Sheriff Quadry.
And I'm Jimi. Disu. Good morning.
You can watch the show on Facebook and on YouTube. Search for Nigeria Info 99.3 on Facebook, Ditto YouTube, and you'll be able to watch us live. Also, don't get distracted. Drop your comments along with the stories that we are treating. And then we'll be able to take them, all right? Let's start with the Daily Trust newspaper. Page 3 is where we are. Incidentally, I saw a video by an influencer yesterday giving a breakdown of this. Now it's our first story today, so something may be true about this particular story. Lagos funds. Atiku denies link with Sanwo-Olu as EFCC probes Achimogo.
Nigeria is a wonderful country, I'm telling you. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought
that Mr. Jide Sanwo-Olu would be accused of funding Atiku?
Who would have thought?
And it would make pages of the newspaper. When you and I and thousands of people believe we have a fair idea of where such funding goes.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, that's what we have. Let me read the story for you. It says that Atiku has denied that he had any link with Governor Sanwo-Olu as far as funds is concerned, because Sanwo-Olu was accused of funding Atiku. Look, I think there's a conspiracy. Like Sheriff and I have discussed, there's a conspiracy. We've been hearing these moves since the time of Obasa, when it was also said that Mr. Sanwo-Olu funded the move against Obasa. And I think some people just want to get rid of that gentleman, which will be sad. Because, yes, you can impeach him if you want, but you'll be most likely impeaching him for the wrong reason. For the wrong reason. I'm not against impeaching anybody. If I like constant change, but it might be done for the wrong reason. Anyway, Atiku has denied. His spokesman said that it may interest Nigerians to know that the Waziri of Adamawa does not know Governor Sanwo-Olu and has never met him.
It's a possibility, yes.
Yes, now.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a possibility.
Do you know the number of people I've never met? That people will just assume that Jimi Disu would know. Even in our constituency, the media. I've never met Dele Momodu. I don't know what he looks like in real life.
See?
So many people I've never met. Even politically, the only time I ever saw President Tinubu, ever, was in his first term as governor. Ever saw that this is Tinubu, this is me. Any other thing on the pages of newspapers. So it's possible. And I really don't think, come on, some people should have an imagination. I do have an imagination. I really don't think that Sanwo-Olu will be funding Atiku's campaign. That would be a big
funding
risk.
Atiku's campaign.
That would be a big risk.
Of all people.
Remember that when you're funding such things, somebody has to transfer the money.
Exactly.
I don't get it. But they say that he did it through a lady called Aisha Achimogo, who is the managing director and chief executive of Fela Concepts Group, a company specializing in civil, structural, and transportation engineering. And that over the years, the group has expanded its services to include consultancy, transaction, advisory services, maritime operations, and so on and so forth. This particular lady, he says, was born in 1974 Her whole CV is here. She has a bachelor's in accountancy and received an honorary doctorate degree from Commonwealth University, Belize. Never heard of this university before. And she was married to Achimugu, a former MD of PPMC, and so on and so forth. Mother of 3. It is said that the EFCC is probing Achimugu. Why would the EFCC be probing her for funding? But
maybe it's for another thing entirely, unrelated to.
Okay, the report says that Achimugu is being probed by the EFCC. She was summoned to appear on March 5 over alleged money laundering and investment scam. And that the Premium Times reports that the letter dated March 4, signed by Adiba Adeni, and so on and so forth, was sent to Achimugu's residential address in Abuja. The Commission is currently investigating a case in which the need to obtain certain clarification from her had become imperative. According to the news, and I'm reading Daily Trust page 3. According to the news outlet, rather than reporting to the EFCC as requested by the agency, that is Mrs. Achimugu traveled out of Nigeria. It's all a bit of a mess, and only God knows where all these things are contrived. Are they trying to say that there's a connect between herself and this gentleman? Isn't this a woman who had one big party one time?
I don't know.
Well, we can't talk about rumors here, but I think Mr. Jide Sanwo-Olu should sit down and reflect very seriously whatever strategies.
What could he have done wrong, though? Let's assume that it's not about this.
In politics, perception of anything itself can get you into trouble. Like they said, he funded the lawmakers' push against Obasa. Did he call them individually to give them money? I mean, some of these things you don't know. You don't know what is true and what is not true. Before, I used to think that some things were false, but later experience told me that nothing is impossible. But that he funded Atiku's campaign is way out of this world. It's way out of
But then
this
it's
world.
politics, No permanent friend, no permanent ally, enemy.
Let's play the devil's advocate. Let's sort it out now. Why would he fund Atiku's campaign? And for the spokesperson of Atiku to say that he never met Jide Sanwo-Olu, that can be proven easily. Somebody will come up with a photograph or something. You can't run away from that. Why would he do that? Politicians are evil, some of them. The kind of stories they can contrive. I give you an example. I worked briefly in a newspaper house as a director for a politician, and so they went to tell this politician that I had stolen 65 million. So they called the meeting at about 1 a.m.
1 a.m.
1 a.m. as marketing director. That, long story short, when you are producing a newspaper, you usually put some adverts to make the paper to beef it up so it doesn't look like it's completely empty. Back in the day, then I had to beg inside. I would put the facts down. I had to beg inside. Can you give me some ads so that the paper won't look empty? We call them fillers. It's standard practice. It was the fillers that these politicians, then some of them, just because I was in charge of adverts and I was in charge of the revenue, so they compiled all and said that Disu had stolen 65 million of that time's money.
That's a whole lot.
And so they called the meeting. They called a meeting at in Chagamo 1 a.m. And so when they told me that, yes, can you defend yourself? They said you stole 65 million. I was at a loss. I didn't know where that was coming from. He was my good friend, the mentor. He was the financial director then. He was so angry. I remember, and I quote him. He said, "You told me an elephant is pregnant, is about to give birth, and it gives birth to a mouse." Then he brought the figures out. We hadn't even made 23 million. 23 million, out of that 23 million, 21 was being owed by a state government. You know, and they say, hey, how are we sure that he hasn't gone to deal? I said, go and put a call to Mr. Abiodun Shobanjo and ask him before. Sorry, I want to drag you into this. It's ridiculous. Of course, I worked out later. I don't have time for nonsense. It's the things that politicians can contrive. And what they do is that they'll be persistent in it. They will be persistent. They'll keep saying it until it almost becomes true. Because I remember somebody telling me way back in the days of UPN that part of the strategies in politics, if you lie against a guy, keep at it. That's why I always tell you, Sheriff, that perception is not too far from the truth. Somebody is going in for DJ Sanwo-Olu, and somebody, either way, either they are going in for Sanwo-Olu, the stray bullet is hitting this man or this woman, or they are going in for this man and the stray bullet is hitting Sanwo-Olu. But this is the second time this kind of thing is going to happen. The rate at which we are going is going to be tough for us to find genuine people who want to serve their country, because they don't want to be rubbish. The political terrain is very vicious, very, very vicious. So anyway, that's one of the stories for another day you've heard today. That was my experience. Since that time, I've given politicians a very wide berth.
Do you suppose that someone is trying to scapegoat him for the Obasa situation?
They want him out, that's all. Some interest groups want him out, that's all. Maybe he might not be in alignment with the certain interests who want to take over from him.
So we can never have a governor who would say, look, I want to take care of the people, not the interest.
It's going to be very, very tough. The way we practice politics here is going to be extremely tough. I can't ever venture near it, which is sad, you know, jolly well sad. I hope maybe we'll have a day when we won't need to belong to political parties to participate in politics. Then it will be easier. Then you can do an Ngige. Look at what Ngige went through. As soon as he got the mandate, he bound himself to the people and started doing people-oriented things, and that was the support base that he had. He then realized that all this godfatherism, that's it, godfatherism. We all know what goes on in Lagos. I don't know how these people sleep, self. Every minute I know a former governor, for example, who doesn't do WhatsApp.
He doesn't.
I'm going to find out from him. You can't get him on WhatsApp. He must have a reason. What kind of a life will you have if you have WhatsApp and people can send all kinds of things to you? So he doesn't do WhatsApp. You either call him or you send a text.
I kind of like the style, though.
Yeah, I've learned. He doesn't do WhatsApp. You can't get him on WhatsApp.
I'll try that.
It's tough, and politicians are very difficult to defend.
That's another thing.
Very, very difficult.
That's another thing.
Very difficult to defend.
That's another thing.
We are warming up 2000, and next year is a takeoff point for 2027.
Yeah. I'm going to take this one from Blair. Blair says he has secured a second term, so I'm not too sure that he's bothered. If it was still his first term, he would have probably been in panic mode.
It's not as straightforward as that. Remember, these people go after you even after you've left. They go for your jugular, and at that time there will be no immunity. So it's not as simple as that.
Okay. Let's go take our next story. It's coming from the Guardian newspaper, their transport and tourism sector, page 22. Motorists shop for bargains, stay in queue for cheaper quality fuel.
Okay, now it's in the papers. I had asked, nobody answered me. The story talks about reduction in the price of fuel and motorists queue in search of cheaper fuel. So let's go. Let's see what it says. It says that in a public notice on the price list, Dangote announced 3 filling stations in Lagos as its partner off-takers. One, MRS, where a litre sells for 860, AP where a liter sells for 8.65, and Hayden, I've never done this one, 8.65 per liter. So NNPC has also reduced fuel to 8.60 after Dangote reduced it to 8.25. Remember, there is this non-proven theory that one fuel burns faster than the other. But I can assure you, I don't buy fuel in my neighborhood. I have to go in set, and I have my reasons. Whether my reasons are valid or not, that's the perception that I have. So it says here, speaking with the Guardian on the price discrepancy, a customer, McDonald Nadi, said others were selling 8.65 while MRS is selling 8.50. It is better to queue and buy here. You will notice some petrol stations, Sheriff, in town. They're usually long queues.
Yeah. I know 2 filling stations on Ahmadu Bello Way. One is always filled with queues. The other one is
virtually empty.
Yeah.
So, so that's the kind of competition that we have. That's it. That's marketing forces. We hope all this will bring, the price of fuel down to a bearable minimum. As it is now, it is still out of total control.
So you're right.
Do you buy from a special station?
Yes.
I can tell you that I leave my house in Surrey to go and buy in Yaba.
Yeah, I buy at a particular station.
Somebody phoned me one day at 11 o'clock. Uncle Jimmy, let me sleep. Oh, listeners will kill me, my people. 11, those people let Loru. But I never went through this before. This is the first time in my life. This is the first time in my life since I started driving a car that I go in search of a station to buy fuel. Never thought of it. In any case, back in the day, you had ordinary fuel, you had super fuel, and you had 5-star fuel.
Oh.
All that is gone now, sadly.
Sadly. I trust the fuel that I buy. I buy at Total. So yeah.
I won't say where I buy.
Okay.
But I leave my house in Sule to drive all the way to Yaba.
Quick, let's just track back to our first story, because I'm seeing you asked a question earlier about the woman who did a party, and I'm seeing a response here from Temi. Temi says Achimogo was the woman that invited Sanwo-Olu to Grenada for her 50th birthday party last year.
I knew the rumors that went around that time are best not spoken about. We can't talk about rumors here, but now you can see the nexus. I believe very strongly the woman overexposed herself anyway. I believe
you said it that time.
I said it that time.
Yes,
I said you're asking for trouble. You're just asking for trouble. There are some people who will be so annoyed to say, how come this woman is this wealthy? The truth is, let me get nearer to what's going on there. Let's break it up. People rumor a nexus between that lady and the governor, okay, and they think that there's something in the undercurrent. Maybe the governor is close to the woman, and the woman is not close to Atiku. I don't know. Could he have been funding by proxy? I don't think so.
I really do not want to think so. This is a man that went everywhere with Bola Tinubu as a candidate.
No, apart from
he
that,
was barely in Lagos at the time.
Apart from that, Bola Tinubu put him there now.
Exactly.
So there's no.
Do you think that Lagosians should expect the Rivers treatment? Is that a possibility?
It's possible, but the lesson to learn, and I remember mentioning this about Governor Sanwo-Olu, is that he should be very careful in places where he is seen. You remember, I've even made an analogy that he likes jumping in front of the camera at the slightest opportunity. This is part of the result. Why would you go all the way to Grenada for
that time they said the governor went to go and see the business community.
Nobody believes that story now. So he Even if the woman is your babe, which I don't know. Well, I need babe now.
Wait, any babe. Wait, any babe.
I didn't say I'm not married, so I mean, but that's not what I meant. You got to be careful, you know. I remember sounding a note of warning then to the governor. Don't worry, in the fullness of time, the true story will come out.
Yes, it will. It will come out. Let's take our next story in the Guardian newspaper. This is page 7 of the Guardian. Lagos has deficit of 30,000 doctors, nurses, other health professionals.
I have to get the health commissioner here. This is the serious, this is from the Guardian, and they said the Lagos state government has said it faces a deficit of 30,000 doctors.
30,000? Lagos alone.
It's frightening. You know, and a significant shortage of nurses, pharmacists, dentists, laboratory scientists, and other allied. Most of them have jackpot. I'll have to get the honorable commissioner here, and maybe my good friend, Professor Fabanwo. I'd have to get him here. Let's know how he's coping. They have to shout out to the public, and you know, we see what assistance we can render, because this is a terrible deficit. 30,000 doctors.
That's a
no
lot.
wonder they accuse. Even if you go that's unfortunately, Sheriff, the way it works is that the large number of doctors who attend to you, even in private clinics, work for the government.
True.
So both ways you have queues. I've been to hospital before, private hospital, reputable hospital. After spending 1.5 hours, I hadn't seen the doctor, and I had to go home. You know, there are many cases like that, and they have to shout out. Let's see what can be done. If the state might have to recruit doctors from other countries to fill that deficit, or make it much more pleasurable for people to work within the state as doctors. And it goes back to what we said. Look at you pamper judges, you pamper politicians, you do this. How won't you have a deficit in the medical area? Who is more important to the populace, the judge or the doctor? Yes. As Fabanwo is head of LASUTH, I'd love to see his payslip, and let us look at the payslip of a judge. I know that in Lagos, the moment you become a judge, you own a house. Why can't you do that same thing for the judge? I remember when we were young, my good friend Para, his elder brother was working in GH here, doctor's quarters. They were accommodated. You know? So I don't know how either they're going to find means of encouraging other of the doctors to come back to the States, or we'll go looking for doctors in India and whatever to fill the gap. This is a crisis.
That's a whole lot.
This is a crisis.
It's a state of emergency, right?
30,000 doctors, nurses, and other health officials.
Wow. I mean, these sort of things just
And if you haven't had I just lost my brother. I just lost another person close to me. Sometimes, if you haven't been through the process, you won't know what they do.
You won't have an idea.
And you keep blaming the hospitals.
You won't have an idea.
You understand what I'm saying? You keep blaming the hospitals. Well, hey, structurally, they are weak. How many patients will one doctor attend to?
And how much is his pay at the end of the day?
And how much is his pay? So what they do is they consult and quickly run to make up, so that they can make the ends meet. And we pay lip service. But you are ready to buy, look in the Lagos State House of Assembly. In this same state where you have this deficit, 2 months ago they were buying new SUVs for themselves. Halfway into their tenure.
And they're commending themselves. Someone saved money for them. It's really not.
We have to talk to ourselves. We can't continue like this. We definitely can't continue like this. Can't continue like this.
I have a message from Miwa there on YouTube, and Miwa says Nigeria generally has always been in deficit whenever it comes to health workers. We need to do more to keep our health workers, even most Nigerians abroad, work in the health sector. That's a sad reality.
I can count. If
That's
I
a
start
sad
counting
reality.
number of Nigerian doctors, the guy who looks after me when I'm in the UK is a Nigerian.
Huh?
I think one doctor in his practice is also a Nigerian, but he is a Nigerian, and some specialists that you see are Nigerians.
You see?
You know, let me quickly pay tribute to a Mr. Okafor. When I say he's Mr., he's not. He's a doctor who has gone. He's a specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we had to rush my late sister to the man who did the surgery for her was Nigerian. All over the place. Why can't they stay here? Why don't we do something to encourage them? But our politicians are selfish. They know what. Let's break the whole thing open. Judges are more useful to them because they will always say you go to court, than the health of the people. Yes, that's what it is.
And they can always take care of themselves.
They
anyway,
can always
so-
take care of themselves. The next flight, they're off.
Let's take this next story from the Vanguard newspaper, page 5. Rivers, lawyers, others flay Ibasis, suspension of political appointees.
I don't think I will have any apologies in saying that I suspect very strongly that the presidency or the president has an agenda in the appointment of this gentleman, because it does. When I said it yesterday, I hadn't had time to think, but when I see all the reactions, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up at all. You suspend all political appointees. So who was he working with yesterday? How is he going to appoint new appointees? Is somebody going to give him a list? I hope that person is not wiki, because it will be very, 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 very sad. Then the backside of the chicken will be wide open. To win more wine.
Efalaji.
Everlasting.
Efalaji. How is preparation for your birthday, by the way?
It's a quiet day now. Just pepper mousse and Dredge mousse quietly.
Quietly, Abby.
No, I'm not a party person.
Yes, no, you're not.
I don't have to prove anything to anybody.
No, you're right. You're
I
not,
don't have to prove anything to anybody. It's just a nice quiet day with my very close friends.
okay.
People like you. You must come from
Of course, I'll be there. I have to. Do I have a choice? I do not.
Not with a baby, with madam.
Why? Like why?
I'm just giving you notice.
People are asking whether they can start calling you about 70.
You can call me anything. Which one is my own? You can call me anything. By the way, I'd like to start. What's his name again? Wale, I forgot. Somebody last week dropped me a nice gift. So I'd like to thank him.
Oh, that's really
I think
cool.
Adenoga, yes, Adenoga.
Okay. The same Wale Adenuga.
No, not that one. No.
Okay.
I think this is a pastor or something.
Oh, all right. That's good. So where can people forward gifts to?
No. That's not.
Please forward it to this place, 267 Etimian Crescent, Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. Nigeria Info Office is on Etimian.
Where are you going to
Please
park
bring it. Bring everything. Bring everything. He likes SUVs.
No, I don't like SUVs.
Preferably Toyota. He likes he likes very nice, sleek. Well, if you have GL for him as well, Mercedes, it's okay. It's fine. Sir. No way.
Let me go.
That's our show this one, Lagos. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Coffee is next on the Morning Crossfire.
Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.